Number 9. Brandon Lee. Brandon Bruce Lee, son of legendary martial artist and actor Bruce Lee, followed in his father's footsteps, becoming a martial artist himself and started an acting career. Lee had landed a role in the 1994 movie The Crow, which was to be his most notable performance. Unfortunately, it would also be his last. Lee was just days away from wrapping the movie when he was accidentally killed on set by a prop gun. Lee's character was to be shot as part of the scene, but negligence led to him being shot by an actual projectile. The prop gun had previously been loaded with dummy rounds, which are projectiles without an explosive charge. During the scene that killed Lee, the gun was to be loaded with blank rounds, which have an explosive charge but no projectile. This was done, but the bullet from the previously used dummy round had lodged inside the barrel of the gun, unbeknownst to the production crew. When the gun was fired in the fatal scene, the explosive charge from the blank round propelled the hidden bullet into Lee's abdomen. In the scene, his character was scripted to fall forwards, but Lee, having been shot for real, stumbled backwards onto the floor, and the crew initially thought he was joking when he didn't get back up. By the time they realized what had happened, it was already too late. Lee was rushed to hospital, where he had intensive surgery but couldn't be saved. Brandon Bruce Lee died on March the 31st of 1993 at the age of 28. Number 8. James Dean and Paul Walker. James Dean and Paul Walker were both renowned actors before their tragic deaths on the road, both of which took place inside of Porsche sports cars. James Dean was a young actor who began making strides in his acting career in the early 1950s. Dean was daring and had harbored an interest in car racing since his youth. Unfortunately, this passion would indirectly lead to his death on September the 30th of 1955. Dean, who'd raced in competitions before, was breaking in his 1955 Porsche Speedster for a race with his passenger, a mechanic. A 1950 Ford Tudor, which was much heavier than Dean's Speedster, crossed over the center line into his lane, and the two vehicles collided almost head-on. An eyewitness described seeing Dean's car smash 2 or 3 times into the ground in cartwheels before it landed in a gully by the shoulder of the road. Dean suffered multiple internal injuries and the impact broke his neck. The crash killed him instantly, but his passenger survived with serious injuries and a broken jaw. Dean was 24 when he died. 58 years later, in November of 2013, the Fast and Furious film series star Paul Walker sat in the passenger seat of a 2005 Porsche Carrera GT. The vehicle was being driven by his friend Roger Rodas through a 45-mile-per-hour zone in Santa Clarita, California. They were on their way back from a charity event hosted by Walker. The Porsche, being driven at what investigators believe was between 80 miles per hour and 93 miles per hour, collided with a concrete lamppost and then 2 trees. The car suffered colossal damage and burst into flames. The 2 men died, their bodies turned unrecognizable from the scorching fires that had engulfed the vehicle. Investigators found no drugs or alcohol in the 2 men's system, and there was no evidence of any racing. The cause of the accident was put down to the speed of the vehicle and the condition of its tires. The death of Paul Walker in particular made international headlines and received a huge outpouring of grief from fellow Hollywood stars and fans alike. Paul was 40 years old at the time of his death. Number 7. The Charles Manson murders. Widely regarded as one of the biggest tragedies in the history of Hollywood, the Charles Manson murders, also known as the Tate LaBianca murders, took place between the 9th and 10th of August, 1969. Charles Manson, a failed musician turned cult leader, instructed 4 members of his following, referred to as his family, to murder the occupants of a house previously rented by record producer Terry Melcher. Inside the house at the time were movie actress Sharon Tate, who was 8.5 months pregnant, and 3 of her friends. Tate begged Manson's followers and offered to sacrifice her own life for being allowed to give birth to her child. The Manson family showed no mercy, and they proceeded to murder all 4 occupants of the house by stabbing and the use of a revolver. Tate was stabbed a total of 16 times, and her unborn son died with her. The following night, Manson took the 4 followers along with 2 others in the family to another house, where they proceeded to murder a couple living there, the LaBiancas. Charles Manson and the followers involved were all convicted for their roles in the murders. They were initially all sentenced to death, but the Supreme Court of California later deemed the death sentence unconstitutional, and their lives were spared. The murderers have all been denied parole multiple times and will likely live out what remains of their lives behind bars. Charles Manson died in 2017 from cardiac arrest, resulting from respiratory failure and colon cancer. He was 83 years old and had spent over the past 40 years in prison for his crimes. Number 6. Lisa Robin Kelly. Lisa Robin Kelly was an American actress best known for her role on the hit sitcom That 70s Show, which she starred in alongside Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. Born in 1970, she was said to have been a happy child and was close to her family as she grew up. Throughout her life, however, she encountered multiple legal issues involving alcohol and drug abuse, as well as incidents of domestic violence in her relationships. Kelly claimed her alcohol problems were what had caused her to permanently leave her breakthrough role in That 70s Show. She admitted to having burned all her bridges there, and she didn't find much work after leaving the program. Kelly's legal issues plagued her life as well as her career, and in the summer of 2013, after checking into a rehabilitation center, she died in her sleep of a suspected drug overdose. She was 43 years old. Number 5. Hagen Mills. Hagen Mills was an actor known for his role in the comedy drama Baskets, which aired on the FX channel. He was found dead in May of 2020, having shot himself shortly after the attempted murder of Erica Price, the mother of his child. Mills had entered the home of Price and kept her mother and their daughter hostage there until Price returned home from work. When she did, Mills shot Price in the chest and in the arm. Despite these injuries, Price was able to escape the house, and police were called to reports of the shooting. Inside the house, they found Mills, who'd taken his own life. Erica Price survived the encounter, and her mother and daughter were unharmed during the ordeal. Number 4. Phil Spector. Phil Spector was a musician, record producer, and songwriter, generally regarded as one of the most influential people in pop music's history. In 2009, Spector was convicted of murdering American actress Lana Clarkson with a gunshot to the mouth inside of his California mansion, the Pyrenees Castle. The murder occurred in 2003. Clarkson was 40 years old and was discovered slumped in a chair with her teeth across the floor. In an interview with Esquire, Spector claimed that Clarkson had killed herself in an accidental suicide. The prosecution later stated that Spector had pulled the gun on 4 other women previously. Each time he had been intoxicated and was romantically interested in the women, but lost his temper after they'd shunned him. For his crime, Spector was convicted and sentenced to 19 years to life in the California state prison system. He died in January of 2021 in a prison hospital. Number 3. Heath Ledger. Born in 1979, Heath Ledger was an Australian actor who'd moved to the US to pursue a promising career in the film industry, aspiring to one day become a film director. He was best known for his role as the Joker in 2008's The Dark Knight, which earned him multiple awards posthumously and brought him international acclaim. Throughout his career, Ledger suffered from insomnia, which would worsen whenever he'd undertake a new role. He began taking Ambien pills, but he found that even those would sometimes not suffice to help him sleep. It was a slippery slope for Ledger, and he soon found himself abusing prescription drugs in attempts to soothe his mind. On January the 22nd of 2008, Ledger was found in his bed unconscious by his housekeeper and his masseuse. He wasn't breathing, and CPR attempts failed to revive him. An autopsy report revealed that Ledger had died accidentally from a combination of 6 different prescription drugs. It was reported that at the time, he also had a chest infection, which may have contributed to his weakened system. Ledger was 28 years old when he died. Today's topic was requested by Meowth Rocket. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was arguably the most famous actress and model of the 1950s and early 1960s. Her films grossed $200 million throughout her career, which is around $2 billion today. Despite her great success in the film industry, Monroe had problems with substance abuse and suffered from mood disorders. She also struggled with the attention she got from the press, who delved into her private life and exposed her personal issues at every opportunity. Monroe's substance abuse continued to get worse, as did her mental health. On the evening of August the 4th of 1962, 36-year-old Monroe was found dead in her LA home from an apparent suicide by overdose. Multiple bottles of barbiturate pills were found next to her. Number 1. Rebecca Schaeffer. Rebecca Schaeffer was an American model and actress who was shot dead on July the 18th of 1989 by 19-year-old Robert John Bardo, an obsessive fan who had been stalking her for 3 years. Bardo had apparently become jealous and enraged at Schaeffer when she appeared on TV in bed with a male actor for a scene in a comedy film. Bardo paid a detective agency to find Schaeffer's address. Shortly after receiving the information, Bardo visited the property and murdered Schaeffer with a shot to the chest. Bardo was arrested the following day and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Schaeffer was just 21 at the time of her murder. Thanks for watching. Would you ever trade your privacy for the fame and fortune of Hollywood? Let us know in the comments section below.